Hello, everyone. How are you? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for joining me again in this beautiful video that I record closely for you to understand one of the topics in syntax, so which is clause structure and complements and adjuncts. So as you know before, previously we talked about the constituent and I introduced last week about the syntax structure to you and types of constituent and put how they are put into the syntax structure. So for today, we discuss the clause structure, complements, and adjuncts. So in the clause structure, we know that in every canonical clause, it has the head element with the form of a verb. So in syntax, we know that the verb is the core or the central unit uh, of the clause structure. So it will be in the form of a phrase, which the verb is the most important factor that determines what the rest clauses are. So there are two major elements, like you see in the screen, that two major called elements are the subject and the predicate. And in syntax term, they become the noun phrase and the verb phrase, which they may constitute with other elements or other units of language. For example, a noun can be constituted with the noun phrase. And do you know that the predicators is a will select will select the key content, of course. Like in the sentence, like cats like water, this one like will determine the water. Cats mean water. So lucky gave the key to the land. So here in these three different clauses, we know that the verb is the central unit, and it selects the key content of the clauses. So which one is the actor and which one is the object and so on and so on, which one is the complement and which one is the adjunct. So the verb is a very central unit in identifying the structure of a clause. So for you, there are types of a clause in English especially, but for now I just try to distinguish the types of the clause by the functions. So the clause is divided into main clauses, sorry, mistyped there, main clauses and subordinate clauses. The main clause or independent clause is a clause that can stand alone as a complete sentence. So it expresses a full thought and it is not dependent on any other clause, such as she likes coffee, which is already a complete sentence. You don't need to add another elements or other elements in order to understand this kind of sentence or utterance. And the children are playing outside. So in this, the second clause is also the complete structure. So, but in the next topic, we will consider the outside here, the outside as the additional element. So the outside here may be considered at different element. I mean, another we need to categorize that outside as the adjunct of a clause. But later on we'll discuss about it. So in main class, you literally do not need, I mean, another clause to be to have or to get the full meaning of it. To get a full meaning of it, it's just already an independent clause. You can just literally understand the meaning of a sentence or a clause. Just to look at a single unit. Like this one, she likes the coffee. It means that she likes the coffee. You don't need to add another element. after it. And the next type is the subordinate clause or dependent clause. So this type of clause, it cannot stand alone, such as in morphology, we know that there is a bound morpheme, which is very dependent to the free morpheme. So because we are also discussing morphology in previous week, we know that maybe it is still in your it is still in your mind that there is that kind of phenomenon which a unit is dependent to the others. So subordinate clause is a dependent clause, so it cannot stand alone, and it depends on the main clause for its meaning. And it is usually introduced by a subordinate like that, because, if, when, although, and etc. And it functions as a noun. It can be adjunct or adverb within the sentence. So, for example, I have three clauses here. I have three sentences. I know that she is here. That she is here is the noun clause, which is a clause that tell us about the thing we know. The thing that I is already know. I know about it. So we can like another constituent. We can replace it with something that is a noun, that is categorized or in the class, in a noun class. Yeah. And the second one is the book that you gave me is interesting. The clause that I highlighted there is the example of adjective clause, because the adjective clause that you gave me, it tells what kind of book is interesting. So it is like adding the adjective, the features or the characteristic of the book. What kind of book is that? So in identifying the adjective clause, all the information must be like what kind of book or what characteristics of the book. So that you give me explains um, the characteristic of the book. And the third sentence is I will call you when I arrive. The clause when I arrive, you can pay attention to that. There is the a subordinate when, right? And the other unit, the next unit is I arrive, which is a subject and the predicate or subject and verb, which we have to identify it as a clause, but it functions as the adverb clause. I mean, it explains us about the adverb, the condition when it is. So I will call you when I arrive. So it means that it tells us about the time, maybe, or a place. So it can be based on the types of adverb available in the list, or what kind of information that can be covered by the adverb. Like it can be a adverb of manner, an adverb of place, or adverb of time, or any adverbs, yeah, out there. So now we are done already talking about the types of verbs, and talking about when we try to combine the clause and subordinate clause, we come to the difficulties. How, when there is a complement or there is an adjunct. So a complement is a core or necessary element that completes the meaning of a head. So if there is a head, like the main clause or the subject and the verb as the head in the clause structure, yeah, not in the phrase structure. We know that the head in the phrase structure, it can be a single unit, but a head in the complement as the necessary element for the head. Head refers to the subject and the verb, the unit, subject, person, the minimal unit of a clause. So without the complement, the structure or the clause would be incomplete or ungrammatical. So the characteristics of the complement are required by the head. So it is a must. So it is like an obligatory element which has to be there after the subject and the verb constructed. And it is selected by the head, or meaning The head determines the meaning is taken by the heart. So the head determines what type of complement it can take, and often close to the head in structure and cannot be easily omitted without changing grammatically. So it cannot be easily omitted, like you cannot delete it or just ellipsed the units. You need to show it in the structure. It is mostly it is difficult to hide the complement. So because you need that kind of complement to make the sentence or the structure grammatical. So the examples of the element, the complement is a verb complement, like you can see in the example. She made a cake. A cake. A cake is the complement of the verb made. So we cannot just stop in the sentence like she made with what? We cannot just write like that. She made, but you need an element that complete the meaning, complete the grammatical structure. So she made uh, is not understandable, so you cannot understand the meaning of the sentence or the clause. So without it, she made is it has an incomplete meaning. And the second one is the adjective complement. So it is in the form of the adjectives, like I'm proud of you. So of you is the complement required by the proud. So it is like the thing, the element that describe the adjective proud. So proud of what? Proud of you. I'm so proud of you. So I'm so proud of you. Of you here. We cannot delete it. We cannot literally. I mean, it will be difficult. It will be difficult to delete the of you because it will change the meaning. Do you know what I mean? So if it delete it, it is still meaningful, but it will change. And I'm proud means that can be proud of yourself. Proud of what? So we cannot do that. So this one is of you is one of the example. This kind of structure is the example of adjective complement. And the third one is noun complement. It is like the fact that he left. That he left completes the meaning of the fact. So it gives another um, uh, important information that explain the fact. What kind of fact is that? The fact that he left means the noun complement. And the preposition complement we have he depends on his friends. He depends on his friends. Like when we try to get rid of the on his friends, we have a very complete different meaning. Depends on what. So on requires a complement. So here are some of the examples of the complement in English. And now we move to the adjunct. So another element that they give an additional meaning, to like give further information about what happened in the process or what happened within the sentence. So by definition, adjunct is an optional modifier that adds extra information such as time, place, manner, reason, and etc. Like I told you before that but the sentence remains grammatical without it. So when we get rid of the adjunct, the sentence is still meaningful and it is still according to the and it is still following the grammatical rules. So, for example, the word like he made a cake yesterday. The yesterday is uh, the adjunct because without yesterday, we know that by seeing the verb made in verb two, we know that it is already in the past. Do you know what I mean? So adjunct functions as an optional modifier that adds extra information such as time and so on. The characteristics are it is optional, can be omitted without making the sentence ungrammatical and still understandable. And it is not selected by the head. Remember, the head in the clause is a verb, not the remember, yeah, you have to remember that the had in a clause is the verb, so it doesn't choose. It is not chosen by by the had or by the verb, and it is freely added. So if we can just move the structure, of the structure or the position of a jump in any one uh, and in any place within the structure. So repeated. It is often repeated or stacked. You can have multiple jumps. So I will show you the example after this. And it also expresses circumstantial meaning, time, place, reason, manner, and etc. So the examples of the jam is a phrase, a jam. She made a cake yesterday, a jam of time. She made a cake in the kitchen, so it is a jam of place. If we try to combine yesterday in the kitchen, she made a cake yesterday in the kitchen. So it is like that, and a jam can be stacked, yeah, stacked. So it, but if you move the position in the kitchen yesterday, she made a cake. So it is still a proper um, and it is still in accordance with the grammatical rules in English. And we have the adjective phrase John, which proud beyond words as emphasized but optional. So we have also clause John. If you like, we can start now. So it is like an optional conditional clause. But here I want to tell you that the adjunct is we can it is optional, not an obligatory one. It is different from the complement. So in summary, we know that there are in features when we see the features of between the complement and adjunct, we know that the necessity of a complement is must be required there. So it must be there in the sentence structure. But an adjunct is optional. And selected by the head, is it selected by the head? Yes. The complement is selected by the head. So it means that the verb will select the types of complement. So it must be after the verb, yeah, not before the verb. So in structure, the construction is after the verb, not preceding the verb. But the young, this is not selected by the head because that's just additional information. That's not really important. And removability. So if you want to remove the complement, it will change the structure or it will make the structure ungrammatical. But it's the most somehow it's maybe if the structure is not changed, but I'm sorry, if the structure change, if there's a change, it doesn't always ungrammatical, but somehow the meaning will always be different, right? So that's the removability of a complement will influence the change in meaning uh, and also in grammatical structure. But in a but for a jungs, yeah, removal keeps the structure grammatical. Even though you move the jung, it's still complete, understandable, and it is still in accordance, or it is still according to the English grammatical rules or standard. And the function of the complement is it completes meaning of a head. But the function of a jung is of an adjunct is to add extra. It can be circumstantial information. So something that we probably need, but we can get rid of it. Like when you use a past tense without knowing what time, you will still understand that the verb to indicates the event in the past. You know what I mean? The verb to and the verb three. The event that's it can be already happened or the event in the past. So you don't need to add the additional additional unit that will explain the time or this, yeah, as of time. And in complement, mostly it is usually only one unit, but a junk can be many. Like I said, it can be stacked in a single syntactical structure. And the examples of condition that here is that she made a cake. The verb made needs a cake. So a cake is selected by the verb made. But in the second sentence, she made a cake yesterday. Yesterday is not selected by the made, the verb made. So I hope you so so that's those are the difference between the complement and the adjuncts, and also the types of the clause. So probably, so please, you can still play this video again and again, like try to understand um, types of structure in English, yeah, types of clause in English, and also the difference between complement and adjunct, and it will be helpful for you to understand, I mean, to draw the syntax tree if you already identify which one is the verb and which one is the complement and the jump. So from that, you can try to uh, like to describe, uh, like it is more easier for you to draw a syntax tree if you already categorize which one is the verb, which one is the complement, and the germ. And after that, you go back to the subject or the noun phrase, and then start to dividing or defining which one is the micro, the internal structure of the others, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So that's it for today, guys. So hopefully you are enjoying my video, and thank you for watching. So please remember to the activity I've given you in the classroom. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, thank you so much for your attention, and see you on the other opportunity. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.